Gundam.tk presents Shining Gundam.
Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs from GundamReviews.net, and it's time to shine some light down on the darkness, and I'm talking about the HG Future Century Shining Gundam 1/144th kit. Now it's time to take a look at all the completed parts. Here's the main body parts, and you'll notice that the legs are a little bit different to go along with the waist and chest. The arms are different again, and something that you don't get hardly that often at all with Gundam's two heads, not to mention one of the cooler vehicles that you'll ever see jump into somebody's back. And just a note here with the empty plates that I did paint a few of these gray parts with a little bit of gold. It's not going to give you that great effect, but it is going to look a little bit different than it would right out of the box. And don't expect a lot of accessories, but the ones that it comes with is pretty cool, including two different length beam sabers there, that's blades and handles, not to mention that famous green sword. To go along with two green shining fingers, you're going to have one left and right, the giant one, and you're going to have 4 gray manipulators in total. Let's kick things off with the Shining Gundam's rather unique feat amongst Gundams. First of all, I'm impressed with this hip joint. It's going to look really good. I've got a lot of black ink in there because there's very wide channels here. The Shining and the God Gundam are noticeable for that. The only thing is, when you turn this, it's going to look a little bit silly, but it's going to be behind the front skirts anyway. You can see that that'll pivot a little bit, and you're going to have this bend here, and this will bend down here. Now, you may notice that the light is reflecting a little bit strangely off this part, and that's because, sadly, unlike the master grade, this blue part here is just going to be a seal, and you can notice that it is on a rounded area, and whenever you put seals on rounded areas, they're not going to go on perfectly, but this one does a surprising good job. It's not going to be perfect. I went over it with a Q-tip a few times, and that's because, well, I suppose they just couldn't get all the plastic that we wanted in there, especially for a thin one. Anyway, some black part there, ink inside, good channels overall, including these thin ones. But the ankles are going to rotate forward and back, and then you're going to have the transformation mechanism, where you shouldn't really expect a Unicorn Gundam type hulking out here, but basically what you're going to get is that this panel is going to open up, and it opens up all right, and this is part of the gray stuff that I painted gold, because otherwise that would be dull. It's going to fit on here, but you can imagine that these aren't going to stay on there all that securely, so you can imagine, I've had them just close on me a few times, and you can see that it's not necessarily going to sit on there all that well. But in terms of the feet, this is actually going to work pretty well because you can rotate these parts up on either side, and you actually detach the foot, and it's got 2 positions when you want to put it into its extra long size 13 mode. Now, I can't stress enough that you're going to need some black lining here all over the place, or some black marker just from a Gundam marker kit. So you can see that I've been pretty liberal in applying that all over the place, including in the channels, and I think that it's going to look really good. With the master grade, we've seen more seals. However, the high grade, you're either going to have to leave it this way or do it up properly like a pro with some really, really good painting. Overall, you are going to have some little details, including the fact that you're going to have 2 of these, so hopefully that's going to lead to a Rising Gundam someday. Good channels there on the back, despite the fact that this plate is very, very simple. It is going to move up and down. The front skirts are also going to move, and they aren't going to be independent. And over here on the other side, you've got this unique part here, which is unique to the Shining Gundam and different from this one, where you can slide in 2 beam sabers of different lengths. The problem being is that the top one is going to fall out fairly easily. It's interesting, though, that they sit in there at a very cool looking angle. The chest is simple yet effective. You do have the ability to bring these shoulders forward a little bit, I'd say about 35 degrees or so. You're not going to be able to move anything down here for the red, and of course there's no cockpit here, but you do have this nice raised green sticker, which is going to look really good when it's put in there under the recess. You've got some big lining opportunities there again that you'll have to put in some proper ink if you want that on there. You can see that it's got the guns there up on the shoulders that are not going to be very fancy. But onto the backpack, which is actually looking very, very cool, and yes, this is a cool looking car. You've got a few colors on there, which is nice. You've got these white parts down there, a few lining opportunities, a thruster, which is going to serve it in the Gundam mode. And basically, you're going to flip this up. You might need to use your modeler's knife to get that up, though. You can just pop that underneath. And when you do that, you've got a nice snug fit there in the back. You're not going to hear a clicking sound or anything, but it shouldn't be going anywhere, as you won't be handling the backpack, unlike with something you'd be doing with Freedom, let's say. To show you the dull old right arm, first of all, you can see that it's just going to mount in here on the ball joint, and you're going to be able to rotate this around here at the shoulder. This is also going to bend up, and in terms of the bend at the elbow, you're going to be getting a 135, let's say, so that's actually pretty cool. You may have noticed that hint of gold on the inside. Again, that's painted. Here I've got the closed fist for the manipulators, but if you actually want to do the transformation, here is the end result. And I didn't paint the gold parts up here on the shoulders. I just decided to go with the seals because it's got the black details on there. And basically all you have to do to get this lined up is that you're just going to choose which one of these slots you want to plug this in. Down here for the blue part, you're going to be able to pop this off. And again, if you just choose this one, you've got your short attachment for regular mode, and then this one when he gets all calm/angry. And over here, this is one of the shining fingers, and of course it's suitable that it's on the right hand. For the manipulators, you do get 2 green shining fingers, and you're going to have these weapon-holding ones left and right to go along with the closed fist, very suitable for a fighting Gundam like this. To the weapons, where you're going to have the beam sabers, they are 2 different lengths, and if you put the long and the short and vice versa, they're going to be about the same length. But it's sort of cool that they do have round bases here, so even though the fact that you've got a flat side and a thicker side here, you're going to be able to rotate these around as you see fit for posing. Gotta love this sword here, and the best part being that yes, if you've seen the opening, I don't know if you can make that out with the background there, but it does very nicely say G Gundam on it. And if this shining finger isn't enough for you, you do have this massive effect part here, very similar to the darkness finger that we've seen with the Master Gundam. It's looking pretty good here. It's got some speed lines there on the back if it looks from the side, but really it's just going to be pretty hollow on the back, which helps for weight. However, similar to the Master Gundam, if you want to put it in, you're just going to plug it in here, and you'll notice that the thumb goes into the thumb, and these parts go in there, and it doesn't stay in there very well. And it's unfortunate that if you do go for the sticky tack approach, I wonder if that's going to show through from the front. But one of my absolute favorite parts of the Shining Gundam, and I couldn't be happier that they did this, instead of transforming it a la the Master Grade, they're just going to give you 2 here in high grade, and I think that's just a fantastic touch. First of all, for the closed up one here for normal mode, you do have a line down there in the front, and you can see that that's the gate that's going to open, as you can see over here. Some pretty deep channels there if you want to put that in, and you do have lots of other lining opportunities. I just decided to be lazy because I'm not going to have this one on all that much. The red goatee, you do have some red there below the eyes and the seals. And up here for the V-fin, you're going to have a very nice looking yellow part on top of the white part, which is pretty solid with the camera lens. And you're going to have these 5 separate parts here. They're not actually separate when you put them together, but they're going to look very nice and separate in terms of the laid back hair. But once he goes super, you get the all red face there, which is going to look good with the eyes. Very deep channels here if you want to put these little black parts there beside it. The camera lens, again, V-fin looks good, and the yellow part raised up. I'd say that this is one of the most unique and very, very traditional looking Gundam heads, and I think it's a fantastic thing that they gave us the 2 of them, and that they're going to look so good. So anyway, everybody, that's going to wrap up my look at the parts here for the Shining Gundam, and I gotta say that there's some good and bad stuff. I'd say that the kit was a lot of fun to put together. It's just some great engineering, very, very solid, and very, very new feeling, including with things like these pivoting hips, and the waist kind of section, and the way that they've got that rotating base, similar to what we've seen on 00 kits. Just great to see it being applied across the line. I am impressed with the weapons. The beam sabers are surprisingly cool. They do fit well into the side, although one of them may fall out. The extra parts like the shining fingers and this sword is going to look fantastic. I'm not happy with this so far, but we'll see how it works once it's actually on the Gundam. And this part actually having 3 colors on there and some pretty decent black seals on it is somewhat of a surprise. Remember that this gold isn't going to be gold unless you paint it up, so you just have some dull gray there when you go into super mode, which I'd say is a bit of a disappointment, but it's more than offset by the fact that you've got these 2 great looking heads. Anyway, everybody, don't forget that the MS mode is more important than the build. It's been fun so far. There are a few things to be concerned about, the biggest one being that you're going to have to put in a lot of effort in terms of lining or inking it. If you want to do this, have this really look properly, similar to the Master Grade. But anyway, I'm sure that you can find some ways about that, and let me know with a comment down below. Anyway, everybody, see you next part for this all put together. Bye. The Ultimate Commander's Antenna.